Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Davey Deathray here with another Rad 9 challenge. Now, if you're hip to what's cool on YouTube, you know all about the Rad Pack. We got Garrett from Born to Be Rad, Mel from My Killer Podcast, and Justin from Justin David Talks. I'll make sure to include links to their channels in the description below so you guys can check it out. Every single channel here is about physical media, big nostalgia trips, so you know, if you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you're gonna wanna check these channels out. It's gonna be like going back in time a little bit and feeling like a kid again. And so for some of you that have been around since the very beginning of this channel, you may remember that my third video was the Rad 9 movies that made me. I did a physical media edition, so every film that I picked there was something that I actually have a copy of in my collection. And it's funny because I was looking back at that video today because it's been about a year, a little bit more since I started the channel as of the recording of this video. And today, July 18th, is the 1 year anniversary of that Rad 9 challenge that was pretty much the first pre-recorded video I ever did. So it's great to be back taking on this challenge because we're looking at a great year in film. Guys, today we are doing the Rad 9 movies from 1994. Let's get into it. Real quick, guys, before we get going, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know your Rad 9 movies of 1994, or heck, make your own video and tag the Rad Pack. They just might share it on their socials. Either way, let's get that conversation going and let's get on to the list. This isn't going to be a ranking or anything. We're just going to go through alphabetical, so fair is fair. And we're kicking things off with Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, starring Jim Carrey. Holy shit. Talk about a movie that set the tone for people's taste in comedy for years to come. I mean, Jim Carrey is about as high energy as it gets in this film. I feel like I don't really have to say much because this one is universally beloved. I mean, you got tons of catchphrases, a young Courtney Cox before she broke big in Friends. Friggin' Tone Loc is in this movie. I mean, Dan Marino is in this flick as well. I could go through all the scenes that I used to recite into the mirror or hanging out with my brothers, but you guys all know them. This film is a bona fide classic. If you don't love Ace Ventura, what the hell are you doing? Coming up next, we've got Airheads starring Brendan Fraser, Adam Sandler, and Steve Buscemi. This is a fun one about a band that is pretty hard on its luck. They're trying to break out in show business, but they just can't get anyone to hear their music. They're convinced that they have a hit on their hands, so they decide that they are going to hold a radio station hostage with squirt guns that look so much like real guns that they have to be taken off the market. Yeah, it's kind of a crazy, zany mid-90s comedy, and while it stars Fraser, Sandler, and Buscemi, this movie is filled with awesome cameos. You have Michael McKean from Spinal Tap is here, Joe Mantegna is here, Michael Richards, who played Kramer in Seinfeld, is here, David Arquette, Chris Farley, Ernie Hudson. White Zombie is in the film, so you get a little Rob Zombie action as well. And this movie is just really fun and an easy watch. When I was in high school, they used to replay it on Comedy Central all the time, and whenever it came on, me and my friends would stop everything and watch the rest of the movie. It's got some great one-liners, and most of the movie takes place in the same plaza where Die Hard takes place, so that's pretty cool too. Coming up third on the list is Clerks starring Jeff Anderson and Brian O'Halloran. As I'm sure most of you know, this is Kevin Smith's first feature-length film. This one caused all sorts of buzz when it came out. Not only was it black and white, but it was this different style of humor that we hadn't really seen before, so this was pretty avant-garde. I remember renting it thinking it was going to be some sort of goofball kind of comedy, something that a 12-year-old could just resonate with. Probably a little more similar to Ace Ventura, although I knew it was a bit more serious in nature. But this one still entertained me, you know? One of those comedies that has some multiple layers to it, and it's got a killer soundtrack. I mean, Alice in Chains, Soul Asylum, Bad Religion, say no more. And cruising up next, we've got Clifford, starring Martin Short, Charles Grodin, and Mary Steenburgen. Well, by now you've probably figured out that I like high-energy, goofy comedies because this one is about as ridiculous as it gets. I mean, the idea that Martin Short is playing like, I don't know, a 10-year-old boy. He's clearly in his mid to late 40s here, but I always really enjoyed his style of humor, whether it was Ed Grimley or, man, even Pure Luck with Danny Glover. I love that film. Now, Clifford is a complete sociopath, very manipulative. He's nice to the people he wants to be nice to, and then the folks that don't give him what he wants, he is going to completely destroy them. This movie goes to some dark places, but in a really fun, sick kind of way. So if you haven't checked out Clifford, you gotta go give it a shot. Flying in at number 5 is Dumb and Dumber. This one is an absolute classic. It's like 1994 was the year of Jim Carrey. I mean, you've got Ace Ventura, The Mask, and this film. And probably the coolest thing about Dumb and Dumber is that Jeff Daniels had never really done comedy. At least if he had, I had never seen one. So seeing him pop up in here and just be completely wild and hilarious, he rises to the occasion with Jim Carrey here. They are neck and neck for just explosive energy. This film, again, like Ace Ventura, I don't have to say much. Another bona fide classic, very quotable, an amazing soundtrack, a whole bunch of songs that I might not want to listen to just on their own, but something about the way they work here in the film is just chef's kiss. And I don't even know if the Farrelly brothers have ever reached heights quite like this one since then, although they do have a bunch of great films. Coming in next, we've got Tim Burton's Ed Wood. Yeah, I love Tim Burton's work, especially his early work is amazing. I mean, Beetlejuice, the first 2 Batman movies, those are 2 of the most important movies from my childhood, especially the first one. And it's kind of tough to pick a favorite here, but if I had to, I would say that Ed Wood is Tim Burton's best film I've ever seen. Johnny Depp's performance here is unreal. He really turns Ed Wood into a character that you want to root for. I mean, you know, this guy is known for being one of the worst directors, making some of the worst films in cinema history. But as you watch this movie, you just want him to succeed so bad, even though he's so terrible. Sarah Jessica Parker's really great here too. You've also got Bill Murray, Martin Landau putting in an Oscar-winning performance, and I believe they won an Oscar for the makeup on his Bela Lugosi look as well, so kudos to the crew here. Man, this is the second black and white movie on this list, a movie that I didn't know what to think of before I watched it, but I fell head over heels for this one. If you haven't seen it, please check it out as soon as you can. Next up, we've got In the Mouth of Madness, directed by John Carpenter and starring Sam Neill. Holy damn if this movie isn't the definition of mind fuck. This is a story about a Stephen King type character, you know, an author with a cult following that usually dips into horrific elements, and suddenly their books start coming true to life. Now, he's gone missing, and to make sure that it's not some sort of publicity stunt, Sam Neill has been given the job of tracking him down, and that's when he realizes that maybe he's become a character in one of these books. I don't want to give away too much just in case you haven't seen it, but this one is an underrated John Carpenter film. Sam Neill puts in these great performances in these dark movies, you know, like Event Horizon. He's just really able to pull you in and give you an experience that you wouldn't expect from the guy that was in Jurassic Park. This film plays out like a long version of a Twilight Zone episode, and much like Sam Neill's character here, at the end of the movie, you're gonna question your sanity too. All right, folks, we've just got 2 left. Our second to last Rad 9 movie from 1994 is Wes Craven's New Nightmare, starring Heather Langenkamp, Miko Hughes, and Robert Englund. If you guys caught my A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise ranking, you'll know that I really enjoy this film. It's in the top part of my ranking, and for very good reason. It was awesome having Wes come back to the series, kind of ground it a little bit more, but also get into this whole meta approach that he would really take to a whole new level in Scream. But I love seeing it here with the Freddy Krueger character character, you know, more of like a demon than just a caricature of what he started out as. And there's an awesome plot device here of Wes having to put Freddy into movies or else the demon's allowed to roam free and break into our world. It's no wonder that for some fans of the series, it's their favorite and maybe even their favorite film of all time. Very well deserved here. The performances are excellent. For Heather to play that heightened version of herself, you even have Wes playing himself here, and of course Miko Hughes as Dylan Porter, one of the best young child performances in horror ever. And to round out the Rad 9 movies of 1994, Pulp Fiction starring John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, and written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. I remember when this film came out because my older brother Matt came home from the theater, was so pumped on it, he told me all the little story bits, went through the whole thing, you know. I was just 12, he was in his early 20s, so it was really cool. I was completely captivated, and then when I finally saw it years later, it completely blew my mind. I love the way the storytelling goes in this film. I absolutely adore the performances here. The soundtrack is great, and to me, this is as good as it gets for Quentin Tarantino. I mean, I enjoy a lot of his films. Hateful Eight is kind of right there with Pulp Fiction, but there's just something about this movie that gets me every time. I love every little bit of it. It's really funny, really horrific in certain ways, and it takes you to some places that maybe you didn't expect to go, which could be good or bad, but I always enjoy a film that sort of challenges me and makes me just a little bit uncomfortable. So if you haven't seen Pulp Fiction, stop everything you're doing and go check it out. You won't be sorry. That's gonna wrap it up for my Rad 9 movies of 1994. Thank you so much for coming out, guys. Really appreciate you checking out the video. Please give it a like if you haven't yet. If this is your first time to the Davey Death Ray channel, check out some of the other stuff we have here. Maybe throw us a sub. We're always going live. We're always doing collaborations and trying out new things. Don't forget to leave a comment and let me know your Rad 9 movies of 1994. I want to get that conversation going with you guys and see what you pick. Thanks again for coming by, and thank you to the Rad Pack for not only being great content creators, but contributing to the community with these awesome challenges and just being cool people in general. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and until next time, I've been and will continue being Davey Death Ray. Take care.